8 News Now at 6:30.
A hearing is set for August 2nd for former Metro officer Kenneth Lopera. He's the officer charged in the death of Tashi Brown outside the Venetian in May of last year. On the I-Team's George Knapp talked with former Clark County District Attorney David Roger, who represents the Police Protective Association, about the case.
Kenneth Lopera, this is a Metro officer accused of involuntary manslaughter, a case that made national news, in part, I think, because of a national sensitivity to issues of police violence. So where does this thing stand?
The district attorney presented the case to the grand jury. We were allowed to present defense witnesses. I wasn't inside the grand jury room. I can't talk about, what happened there, but I can tell you what our experts said. And we brought in medical experts from University of California, San Diego, and they said that Ken Lopera did not kill the decedent. The medical examiner said that the decedent died of asphyxia, lack of oxygen. Our experts said that there are no petechial hemorrhages in the eyes, which are signs of asphyxiation. The trachea was intact. There was no damage to the trachea, no damage to the hyoid bone. However, this guy had an enlarged heart from years of drug use, and he had a bunch of methamphetamine, and so our experts said that he died as a result of a cardiac arrest from fighting with the police.
A lot of what you're dealing with is optics. That he tased the guy 6 or 7 times, and there was a chokehold that was allegedly illegal, and that's where the sensitivity comes from. Would you agree?
No use of force looks good on video, but we had experts who came in and said that he did not use excessive force based upon the standard that the U.S. Supreme Court has given us. Frank Mir, a UFC fighter, came in and said that this was not an oxygen choke where he couldn't breathe anymore. And he said, there's a reason why UFC fighters aren't allowed to use controlled substances. It's not because they're the morality police, but they don't want a fighter dying in the ring.
So where does it go? What's next in this case?
Well, the district attorney, after hearing the evidence, decided to send the case file out to an independent expert to take a look at this. And so Force Science Institute, which is located back east, has a number of experts who look at use of force cases, and they are going to render an opinion, and then the DA will make his decision on whether to allow the grand jury to return deliberate on the case.
You look nationally, it's difficult for juries to vote against or to vote to put a police officer in prison for doing their job or things that happen in the course of their job.
Sure. As you stated, I'm a former district attorney. I was a prosecutor for 25 years. We prosecuted police officers, but there are two things at play, especially in this case. First, John Q. Public wants to give police officers some deference. They understand that they have a difficult job to do. And so those jurors, want to see more evidence. But in addition, and this is a personal problem that I have with prosecutors around the country, I think they do the public a disservice. They charge these police officers and they let juries or judges make the decision, and there are acquittals around the country. And John Q. Public says, I watched this on TV, how can that possibly be? There is a difference between a civil standard in using excessive force and criminal charges. In criminal charges, you have to show criminal intent. And there are very few police officers who put on the badge, put on the uniform, and intend to go out and use excessive force that day.
All right, David Roger, thanks very much. Back to you.
And if you missed any of that interview, you can catch it all on LasVegasNow.com.